Welcome to episode 15 of the Security Matters podcast, where we bring you the latest news, views and opinion from across the UK's dedicated security business sector. My name's Brian Sims and I'm the editor of Security Matters magazine. We're delighted that this podcast is sponsored by the Security event, which runs at the NEC in Birmingham on the 27th, 28th and 29th of April 2021. To register for the show, visit www.thesecurityevent.co.uk. Focusing on the news now, and in the wake of the British Airways data breach episode and subsequent financial penalty that we featured on the last Security Matters podcast, the Information Commissioner's Office has now fined hotel group Marriott International the substantial sum of £18.4 million for the company's failure to keep millions of customers' personal data secure. Marriott International estimates that the records of 339 million guests worldwide were affected following a cyber attack that took place back in 2014 and involved Starwood hotels and resorts worldwide. The attack, which emanated from an unknown source, remained undetected until September 2018, by which time the company had been acquired by the Marriott Group. The personal data involved differed between individuals, but may have included names, email addresses, telephone numbers, unencrypted passport numbers, arrival and departure information, guest VIP statuses, and also loyalty program membership numbers. The precise number of people affected is unclear, as there may have been multiple records for an individual guest. 7 million guest records related to people resident here in the UK. The ICO's investigation found that there were failures by Marriott International to put appropriate technical or organisational measures in place in order to protect the personal data being processed on its systems as required by the General Data Protection Regulation. Speaking about the fine, Information Commissioner Elizabeth Denham has commented, "Personal data is precious and businesses have to look after it. Millions of people's data was affected by Marriott International's failure. Thousands contacted a helpline, while others may have been forced to take action to protect their personal data because the company they trusted it to had not done so. When a business fails to look after its customers' data, the impact is not just a possible fine. What matters most is the public whose data they had a duty to protect." The ICO's investigation traced the cyber attack back to 2014 as stated, but the penalty only relates to the breach from 25th of May 2018, when new rules under the GDPR came into effect. Due to the fact that the breach happened before the UK decided to leave the European Union, the ICO investigated on behalf of all EU authorities as lead supervisory authority under the GDPR. The penalty and subsequent action have been improved by the other EU data protection authorities through the GDPR's cooperation process. Back in 2014, an unknown attacker installed a piece of code known as a web shell onto a device in the Starwood system, subsequently giving them the ability to access and edit the contents of this device on a remote basis. This access was exploited in order to install malware, enabling the attacker to have remote access to the system as a privileged user. As a result, the attacker would have gained unrestricted access to the relevant device, as well as other devices on the network to which that account would have enjoyed privileged access. Further tools were installed by the attacker to gather login credentials for additional users within the Starwood network. With these credentials, the database storing reservation data for Starwood customers was accessed and exported by the attacker. Marriott International acted promptly to contact customers, and the ICO has acknowledged this fact. The business also acted quickly to mitigate the risk of damage suffered by those customers affected, and has since instigated a number of measures designed to improve the security of its systems. The government's campaign to recruit 20,000 additional police officers over the next 3 years is ahead of schedule, with almost 6,000 new officers joining the service before the end of September. 1 year on from the launch of the campaign, 5,824 extra officers have joined police forces across England and Wales. This means that recruitment is well ahead of schedule, as the government had pledged to bring in an additional 6,000 officers by March of next year. The new officers are already working to help drive down crime and make the streets safer, with statistics showing that crime was already beginning to fall before the pandemic period began. Over recent weeks, the police service has also been keeping members of the public safe by stepping up enforcement against those flouting rules in place to help stop the spread of the coronavirus. Home Secretary Priti Patel has commented, "Putting more police officers on our streets is a priority for the British people. Therefore, it's also a priority for me. Just 1 year on from when we began recruiting, I'm delighted that there are nearly 6,000 of the 20,000 additional officers on our streets, cutting crime and making communities safer. As we've seen from the frontline response to the coronavirus, the work of each and every police officer helps to save lives. I would like to extend my gratitude to the new recruits for joining the police and being a part of this heroic national effort." The figures also show that 12,675 new officers joined the 43 forces across England and Wales between November 2019 and September of this year. As stated, 5,824 of those officers were specifically recruited as part of the Uplift programme. Others were brought on board to backfill posts left by leavers or through locally funded recruitment. There's now a total headcount of 134,885 officers deployed across forces in England and Wales. Martin Hewitt, chair of the National Police Chiefs Council, has also offered his views on the policing numbers by stating, "These additional officers are most welcome as the demand for policing services continues to increase. The figures demonstrate a step forward, but there's much more to be done, whether in terms of how we continue to attract and recruit our new officers or how we retain those already in the service." Hewitt went on to state, "We're relentlessly working to achieve our ambition of being a diverse and inclusive service that's truly representative of our communities." Chief Constable Mike Cunningham, the CEO of the College of Policing, has also observed, "The figures demonstrate policing's ability to adapt to challenges and continue to recruit new officers in difficult circumstances. I'm pleased to see forces hitting recruitment numbers on this scale. Bringing 20,000 new officers into the service presents an important opportunity for police forces to become more representative of the communities they serve." On that note, Cunningham concluded, "It's encouraging to see more officers joining from Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds, but our work to support representation in policing doesn't stop there. The service will continue to build on this progress such that policing is able to best protect the public now and also into the future." Our first guest on this edition of the Security Matters podcast is Sandi Davies. Sandi has served as the Executive Director of the International Foundation for Protection Officers for more than 25 years. Sandi is a former chair of the Security Services Council run by ISIS International and also a previously active member of that organisation's Women in Security Council. Sandi has edited all 9 editions of the Professional Protection Officer produced to date, as well as 4 editions of Security Supervision and Management, the Theory and Practice of Asset Protection. Sandi began her career in the contract security world back in 1980 with a primary focus on personnel administration. She became deeply involved in training and was instrumental in developing security officer training programs for a major national guarding company in the States. In 2015, Sandi received the Karen Marquez Honours Award for consistently working towards the betterment of the security industry in order to support, inspire and promote the role of females working in the sector. Earlier this week, I asked Sandi about the reasoning behind the IFPO recently opening a UK branch, the current research focus for the organisation, and also the importance of training and learning for security officers. First, Sandi explains the origins of the IFPO. Sandi, thank you very much for joining us on the Security Matters podcast. First of all, can you explain the origins of the International Foundation for Protection Officers and also outline the organisation's key aims and objectives in the short term?
All right, so very well. So the IFPO was developed in 1988 in Calgary, Canada. In 1999, I moved our organization down to Naples, Florida. Our main goal and objectives has been to develop meaningful and current relevant educational opportunities for security personnel. When I first entered into the industry, I was appalled at how I worked for a contract agency and they would employ these people and put them in a uniform and put them out to protect people, property, and assets without any education or formal training. So really, that's where this whole concept came about. Like I say, educational opportunities has been our focus. We provide educational opportunities for contract agencies, Fortune 500 companies, you name it. That's what our whole focus is. We just currently released our 2020 issue of the Protection Officer Training Text, which in fact is our 9th edition. So we recruited 45 contributing authors, subject matter experts, to produce what we feel is an exceptional training tool for our industry. Our clientele include organizations such as Amazon, Apple, Saudi Aramco. We currently have students in over 56 countries. We have representatives of our organization in the Middle East, Costa Rica, South America, Europe, the UK, and recently Ireland. Just to mention a few, we're in every corner really of the world. And the feedback that we're getting is that it is making a significant difference in what security people believe to be their important job, tasks, or complexities of their position. So our largest area of expansion is internationally, ironically enough, where our largest client is actually Saudi Aramco, which is of course in the Middle East, and they have 6,000 security officers. So that in itself keeps us very busy. Doing curriculum development over the course of the years is an integral part of our process as well, because as we all know, the roles and responsibilities are changing daily for security officers. So we're almost, 30 years into this, and I feel that we've made some pretty big inroads. We have many universities and colleges that give continuing education units to people who have completed our program. So that's very important to us because it brings a lot of credibility to us as well. So we're here for the long term.
I know that the IFPO is involved in some focused research, Sandi. Could you expand on the detail here for the benefit of our readers and also the security business sector in general?
So, as I mentioned, going back to my early years of being in this industry, I recognized that there was no documentation about how security officers, what their jobs consisted of. There was a report done in 1986 by the Hallcrest report, which did sort of a job analysis, not a real delineation study, but just a job analysis of what security officers did. And nothing has been done since. And I, as an educational provider, I have to scratch my head and say, well, how can we possibly provide relevant educational programs if we don't understand the job, the tasks? So this has been something that I've had in the back of my mind for probably 15 years. And I was the chair of the Security Service Council for ASIS for a number of years. And I actually put together a proposal for a research project. That was in 2008. And we took it to the ASIS Foundation. And unfortunately, that was about the time where the economy sort of took a dive. So ASIS, understandably enough, that they deferred, they just weren't eager to spend a lot of money at that point because of the nature of our economy. But this is how far back it's gone for me. It's something that I feel is imperative for us to move forward. The research project, we've teamed up with Perpetuity Research, Martin Gill's organization, and also Security Magazine has also embraced our project and is going to support us. So what we want to really learn and determine is what are security officers' roles and responsibility today, 21st century security officers. So I know that Martin Gill has a really exceptional team of researchers, so they will do the research into it. We're still just in a very much an inaugural stage of this project. We have some funds to raise in order to put this together. The IFPO has already put up $15,000, but we are also looking for another $60,000 because that's what's going to cost to put this research project together. But I believe that it will impact our industry significantly in that we'll finally understand what it is that security officers do, what their roles are, what their responsibilities are, because and it's going to vary because the security officer that is, let's say, the shopping mall security officer's job is going to be significantly different than, say, a security officer at a nuclear facility. So it's going to be an intensive project to put this all together so that it all melds to equate to what everybody's doing in the industry. In the U.S., there's very little required for training for security personnel. A lot of states don't require any training. It is my intention that this research project will bring about a knowledge or an awareness to the states that we need to do something about this. We can't just be turning officers out without any educational background. They have to, it's like anything else. I mean, if you want to, for example, if you want to be a taxi driver, you have to have a license. If you want to be a hairdresser, you have to have a license. Why don't we have license requirements for security officers throughout the world? Really, truly. It's long overdue. So I think that this research, it's going to be groundbreaking in that there's nothing tangible at this time to indicate what it is that security officers do. So I'm really excited about working with Dr. Martin Gill and Dr. Kitteringham on this, that I think we'll finally identify what it is security personnel do.
The IFPO recently launched a dedicated UK branch, Sandi. What was the reasoning for going down this route, and what are the key goals in sight?
Okay, so our biggest area of growth, as I've mentioned, is our international growth. Our largest enrollment into our programs right now is in the Middle East, ironically enough. And We've seen that we have representatives, like I say, in Costa Rica and South America and in Europe. And we just felt that, the more international expansion that we can enjoy is going to be beneficial to us. Mike Hurst, as you know, he's got more energy than I've ever seen in anybody. Oh my gosh. He's iconic in terms of his social media platforms and getting the message out to people about our organization. So we felt Europe has enjoyed a great deal of success. Our IFPO Europe organization, we felt that when Mike came to me and said, I'd like to get involved in the IFPO, I was elated. I know that he's had vast experience with ASIS, and his connections and his ability to network been very promising for the UK. I think that really any country, any demographic is going to benefit from having the IFPO's presence, because we represent the security officer and we want to improve and careers more valuable in terms of we're not the night watchman anymore. We're security professionals, and that's my big hitch. Is I just believe that the UK, Mike said, it's right. There's nothing else that's really available there, so let's introduce the IFPO. And so far, so good. We're making some really good inroads. And again, I credit Mike Hurst to that.
Another thing that the IFPO is very keen on is the delivery of educational programs for the security professionals of tomorrow. What do you believe to be the major challenges here, Sandy, particularly in view of the enforced transition towards online learning during the pandemic?
Looking back like 5 years ago, the delivery of our programs were old school, traditional correspondence. Very few individuals were interested in online programs. Things have changed. 90% of our enrollment is now on the online platform. Due to the pandemic and the social distancing, it only makes sense. Our online programs are very robust and user-friendly. Our programs are accompanied by a learning management system that will permit employers to tap into the system to determine their employees' activity and success at their ease. So there's a tracking system in place. We have a following from high schools, vocational centers, college, and universities, which have struggled with the transition from classroom training to online programs. But we've actually developed a couple of live webinars and other resources that make the transition a little bit easier for the online program. So I think that the biggest area of change, of course, has been the delivery method, but a larger part of the change that we're seeing is the roles are becoming much greater for security personnel, as we see that law enforcement agencies are cutting their budgets and cutting officers, that there is a gap that we need to fill. I think that there's even just as a matter of trust. I mean, our society has to be able to trust law enforcement and security. And I think as we move forward with releasing educational research statistics, I think that it'll lend credibility to our industry. How can governments or agencies look at us seriously without this sort of research in place? So I really feel passionate about getting this research completed, drawing some conclusions from it, and then also modifying or creating even more relevant training programs for security officers. The big change, too, is people have lost perhaps not respect, but there's a sense of uncertainty about law enforcement. So I think that there's a bigger opportunity for security personnel right now, and we need to bridge that gap and make that happen. So that's our focus right now, is to really pay a lot of attention to what's happening in our society to raise the level of opportunities for security personnel to achieve success and to provide a certain amount of acceptance from the rest of our to the rest of our society, really, because in the past, security's been looked at in poor light. And I think that with research and with education, that this is where we're going to make a change. And that's what I'm focused on.
And last but by no means least, and looking towards the future now, what are the most important goals for the IFPO in the next 5 to 10 years, Sandy?
Obviously, again, I revert back to the research project. That this is core. This is rudimentary. This is necessary, and I think it's going to change our industry significantly. I think that government agencies, military, law enforcement agencies, you name it, are going to have a different respect for security once this research project has been released, completed and released. I see that the role of security officers is going to become more significant. We're already seeing it. I think that technology is changing our industry as well. With the advancement of technology integrated into our industry, security officers have to be current on such related items as technology. I mean, no longer is it, just locking doors and turning off the lights in the building. There is, expansive requirements by security to maintain the safety and integrity, security of many organizations. And I think that for us, the IFPO, we're going to stay very focused on maintaining a high level of education. We've been criticized in the past for being perhaps too significant of a program for security officers. And I've always said to my colleagues and my board of directors that we will not dummy down the IFPO programs. We're going to make them tougher. We're going to make them more relevant. We're going to stay current. So even though we've just released our 2020 textbook, which took 2 years to prepare with over 45 contributing authors, we're already started on the next text. I mean, things are evolving that quickly that we need to stay current, stay on top of things, have an elite group of advisors, board of directors, IFPO supporters, clients. We need to hear from all of them in order for us to be where we need to be moving forward.
Returning to the news now, and it's reported that the British Broadcasting Corporation receives over 250,000 malicious email attacks every day. Data revealed under the Freedom of Information Act by the cybersecurity team at the Parliament Street think tank has shown that an average of 283,597 malicious emails were blocked by the BBC every day over the first 8 months of this year. On a monthly basis, the data shows that the organisation receives an average of 6,704,188 hostile emails classed as either scam messages or spam. Additionally, an average of 18,662 malware attacks such as viruses, ransomware and spyware are also blocked. Across the 8-month period running from January to August this year, a total of over 51 million infected emails were blocked by the BBC's cyber defence systems. The worst month for attacks was July, with a huge total of nearly 7 million incidents recorded. Of these episodes, a total of 6,787,635 were spam and 13,592 showing up as malware. The second highest month was March, when the COVID-19 outbreak was exhibiting its initial worst stages here in the UK. At that time, the BBC received 6,768,632 spam attempts and 14,089 malware attempts. In the past, the BBC has experienced multiple incidents when it comes to cyber attempts and potential breaches. In 2013, the national broadcaster's Twitter feed was subject to a phishing hack by what appeared to be sympathisers of Syrian President Bashar Assad. At the time, the BBC said that the phishing emails contained what appeared to be links to the Guardian newspaper or Human Rights Watch online, and directed users to a fake webmail portal. In 2016, there was another hack, with an anti-ISIS hacking group claiming responsibility for downing BBC websites and services on New Year's Eve. Prior to this, there was a cyber incident in December 2015, when all of the BBC's websites were unavailable because of a large web attack. It's believed that a web attack technique known as distributed denial of service was employed on this occasion. This form of attack aims to knock a site offline by swamping it with more traffic than it can handle. The data obtained from the Freedom of Information request strongly suggests that it's an ongoing struggle for the BBC to obstruct these malware, phishing and spam attempts in order to avoid a major breach of its digital systems. Commenting on the news, Tim Sadler, the CEO at Tessian, informed Security Matters, "The global pandemic has presented the perfect opportunity for hackers' phishing scams. We can clearly see this reflected in the spike of malicious attacks on the BBC. In the wake of the pandemic's outbreak, journalists and employees alike would have been busier and more distracted than usual. Using clever social engineering techniques, cybercriminals prey on people's desire for information during uncertain times and bank on the fact that busy, distracted and stressed employees may miss the signs of a phishing email and fall for their scams. The key takeaway from all of this is that companies must have security measures in place to immediately predict such email threats and warn people before they click on or otherwise download an attachment. This is by no means a new security message, but is it continuing to fall on deaf ears? Our final news story for episode 15 concerns the 19 Group, the organiser of the premier events for practitioners operating in the specialist disciplines of security, counter-terrorism, cybersecurity and disaster response. The company has recently announced a detailed schedule for the first ever International Security Week. This will run from Monday the 30th of November through until Thursday the 3rd of December. Incorporating International Security Expo, International Cyber Expo and also International Disaster Response Expo, International Security Week will deliver a wealth of information during a series of exclusive, free-to-watch online sessions that elevate the event beyond the typical slide presentation and webcam format witnessed at most virtual conferences. In the UK alone, funding for counter-terrorism policing will grow to £906 million for 2020-2021. That in fact represents a £90 million year-on-year increase. With this in mind, International Security Week offers viewers a chance to hear a host of different perspectives on the challenges being faced by nations and businesses operating across both the public and private sectors, as well as those affected first-hand by terrorism. Opened on each day by International Security Week Chair Lord West of Spithead, the week will be split into 4 key sections available to watch live or on demand via the dedicated International Security Week website. Importantly, International Security Week is certified for CPD by the Security Institute. Attendees will receive CPD points for every session watched. Day 1 focuses on international matters and is sponsored by HS Security. There will be discussion around the Protect duty, which aims to provide UK citizens with better protection from terrorism, in addition to an exclusive session with Ayman Dean, former member of Al-Qaeda turned MI6 spy, who will discuss how Islamic-based terrorism is developing and what the security sector should look out for in attempting to prevent it. Day 2 of International Security Week covers cybersecurity in detail and is sponsored by Tripwire, itself a specialist in the arena of establishing a strong cybersecurity foundation and protecting the integrity of mission-critical systems spanning the physical, virtual, cloud and DevOps environments. In a not-to-be-missed session, host Philip Ingram and Anthony Leather, co-founder and director of Westlands Advisory, will discuss the consultancy's latest cyber research that's scheduled to launch exclusively during International Security Week and encompasses the very latest data on key industry trends, technology and market growth. Day 3 is all about law and order. In an unstable economic climate, there's arguably nothing more important than avoiding disruption to critical national infrastructure. During International Security Week, a panel of experts from a number of CNI sectors will join forces to explain their role in protecting nations' assets through policy and implementation, as well as discussing the wider cyber perspective. Averting a crisis is the highest priority for security professionals, but when disaster occurs, it's vital to be prepared. On the final day of International Security Week 2020, Anne-Marie Trevelyan, the MP for Berwick-upon-Tweed and former Minister for International Development, will deliver the keynote speech in relation to the subject matter of disaster response. There's no doubt that International Security Week runs at an important juncture for many security, counter-terrorism and disaster response professionals. We continue to live in uncertain and unprecedented times wherein the threats remain. On that basis, it's vital that nations and businesses alike continue to evolve their security in order to protect citizens and employees. The readers of Security Matters can register for International Security Week by visiting the event's website at www.internationalsecurityexpo.com. Our second guest on episode 15 of the Security Matters podcast is Ashley Wyton, Sales Director for the Comelit Group here in the UK. Ashley began his career by joining ADT as a trainee sales consultant, before then moving into the company's Integrated Solutions Group as a design consultant working on major projects. He was then presented with an opportunity to join Cooper Security in the role of Area Sales Manager covering the South West, South Wales and Ireland. A spell with Fleur Systems as Security and Surveillance Distribution Manager followed, before Ashley was approached to join 360 Vision Technology as International Sales and Marketing Manager. He joined the Comelit Group from Honeywell Security, where he enjoyed roles as Systems Sales Lead and then Strategic Sales Lead for the UK and Ireland. The Comelit Group specialises in the design and manufacture of video entry, video surveillance, anti-intrusion, access control, home automation and fire protection systems. During our podcast interview, Ashley explains how the business has been coping with COVID-19, outlines current trends he's seeing in the sector, and also focuses on the product innovations in store at the Comelit Group for 2021. 2020 has, of course, been dominated by COVID-19, Ashley. Given the hugely challenging times in which we all find ourselves at present, how well do you feel the Comelit Group has actively faced up to the pandemic?
Well, 2020 saw us move into our brand new purpose-built offices. So it started very well. And then, as you say, COVID hit. Now, as a business, Comelit UK were affected, as many other companies were. But I feel we were affected to a lesser degree than expected. And the latter part of Q2 and into Q3 saw us recover, actually, the low intake of orders we encountered in April and May when the lockdown was at its fullest. And the outlook for the year, December, is looking very positive, with all projects still expected to close in 2020, which is great. And I would say, as strange as it sounds, 2020 has probably been one of the most rewarding of my career. And the reason for that is seeing a team faced with adversity like we haven't seen before and conduct themselves with professionalism and resilience has been both humbling, and I'm incredibly proud to lead the team I do. So, yeah, as a business, we've had to adapt and overcome, and I felt we've done that with great resilience.
And in what ways has the pandemic fundamentally changed the way in which you've operated and functioned as a business, Ashley?
So, as a business, we adapted very quickly to the situation. Obviously, being an Italian company, we were very proactive given what we were hearing from Italy with the pandemic. Obviously, they were hit incredibly hard over there, which is incredibly sad. So, as a business, we actually moved all of our internal team to home offices, and that was actually before the mandated lockdown came into effect on the 23rd of March. And it's meant that we've had to be more proactive than we've ever been before. And I think this was shown in our Business Together pledge that we put together. And that was open for business with full technical, operational and sales support services. We hold a very large amount of stock here in the UK readily available, and that was both available on next day delivery, even through the lockdown, or collection. So socially distant, COVID secure collections were available. We continued, as I just said, shipping 5 days a week. We were still able, as I say, to deliver next day to meet those tight deadlines. We offered free delivery through May, June and July, so that customers felt that they could still order, and obviously it helped them a little bit with cash flow and things. We operated with our internal and external teams who were obviously able to arrange socially distanced meetings when required, so it kept business moving again. We also kept in close contact with our industry peers to offer moral support as we face this adverse situation together. I think it's important that, although in business we may be competitors, it's important that, sharing information and best practices, I guess, on how we were doing things was important. And then obviously, as we progress into the new normal, whatever that is, we've been very, very proactive and ensured that our offices are fully COVID secure. So we can still welcome visitors to our fantastic demo facility, albeit at a much reduced volume of people. And our large external team are still actively seeing customers. However, again, this is only where COVID secure measures are followed.
And for the benefit of the readers of Security Matters, could you explain how the dedicated fire safety solutions focused element of the Comelit Group differs from that of the Security-Centric side of the business?
Well, obviously, the technology differs, as we all know, quite substantially. However, the sales process is the same. We're strongly pushing collaboration between our security and fire teams, as a lot of the customer base is mutual, and a large amount of our customer base install both fire and security. So there's lots of synergy with our product ranges. Obviously, that also gives the installer peace of mind that they're dealing with one supplier to offer the client a complete solution. So it's the one hand to hold, one throat to choke kind of scenario. We've also invested significant training on fire products across the BDM team. So that's the entire BDM team. And that's to make sure that they can talk both fire and or entry and security, albeit at a fairly low level with fire, because then we bring in the experts. Other similarities, I guess, the dedication to pre and post support. We've invested quite heavily in a technical and training manager who has 30 years of experience in fire. So again, he supports the fire side, but obviously has synergy with security. But a very slight variation between fire and security is our distribution route, I guess. So for the benefit of the readers, if they're a security customer, they would probably buy their security products from one kind of section of the security distribution market. But the fire, we've decided to take a slightly different approach, with more focus being applied to dedicated fire distribution. As we feel as a business, this will support the customer, as the knowledge for fire obviously differs. It's important that they have a dedicated fire specialist distribution.
And looking at the security business sector in general, Ashley, and based on your own experience in recent times, what would you say is the big trend in play at the moment?
Well, clearly, for me, cloud-based app control is definitely on the increase, with more and more of our daily lives being influenced by the Internet of Things. Comelit have a great app that integrates all of our products, and we are definitely seeing a trend in user requirements to be able to use their systems on smartphones and tablets. And they want to do that in a single app rather than multiple apps. I mean, in my private life, I'm quite a fan of home automation as an example, and I have lots of different apps for lots of different things. So I guess in line with this trend, Comelit have recently launched the integration of Amazon Alexa as well, which is quite exciting. So again, we're seeing more and more of those devices in people's homes. So that's definitely on the increase in a trend. It makes the user experience more versatile and convenient than ever before. And this is definitely what end users are looking for.
And finally, Ashley, what new innovations are in store at Comelit for 2021?
As an industry, we're seeing demand in products that are both innovative yet easy to install. Obviously, the installer is always at the heart of everything we do. We have an incredibly exciting 2021 coming up with two fantastic products being released. In our door entry range, we have the brand new Ultra. That's a brand new range of door entry panels. Ultra is a huge step forward in door entry. It's designed to adapt to the most diverse applications, from individual homes to large residential complexes. It's very modular in its nature, which means it's very easy to expand systems. In the door entry world, obviously, you do get that kind of expansion of properties and wanting to add more monitors and more buttons, more doors kind of thing. It has a really nice touch screen. So again, it's that kind of look and feel that the customers are looking for. We're also launching a very exciting new wireless intruder product, and this works seamlessly with our door entry and CCTV products. And it also links effortlessly to the Comelit Cloud app, giving the user, again, and the end user peace of mind that their precious belongings are being protected. We've also worked very hard this year on becoming secured by design, which again gives the client and the end user peace of mind that the system that they're installing is fit for purpose. So it's quite a significant step forward. So yeah, we're really, really looking forward to a strong start to 2021. And also, just to tag on to that, we've got a new range of fire panels being launched early in 2021, which will add a huge array of exciting new features on what we already offer.
That brings us to the end of this latest edition of the Security Matters podcast. Many thanks indeed to Sandi Davies of the International Foundation for Protection Officers, and also Ashley Wyton from the Comelit Group for their highly valued contributions. Many thanks also to our podcast sponsors, the Security Event. The Security Event runs at the NEC in Birmingham on the 27th, 28th and 29th of April 2021. To register for the show, visit www.thesecurityevent.co.uk. Don't forget to visit our website at www.fsmatters.com/security-matters, where you can view our podcasts and read the latest news and opinion from the security business sector. You can also access our dedicated features content and sign up to receive our weekly e-news bulletins. Please do contact us if there are any key themes or issues you would like us to explore on upcoming broadcasts. You can do so on Twitter by using the hashtag SecurityPod. On that note, do make sure you follow us on Twitter at WBMSecMatters. As a reminder, the Security Matters podcast is live to view every fortnight on Wednesdays. Please do like and share the content and spread the word among your industry colleagues. You can listen to the Security Matters podcast for free on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube or Podbean. To download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify, all you need to do is enter the term Security Matters into your chosen platform search box. We'll see you next time.